Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ain't My Podcast. This week we're talking about the episode Fool for Love. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Justin.
This episode originally aired November 14th, 2000, attracting 5.7 million viewers.
Still plenty.
Yeah, it's, I think, the highest rated season in terms of viewership.
Right.
But we will get to that, more about that at the end of the season. So, in this episode, Buffy receives a serious stab wound while fighting a run-of-the-mill vampire in the cemetery. She is saved only by the unexpected arrival of Riley. Despite his encouragement that she is not losing her edge, Buffy wants to research ways to avoid making more mistakes. She and Giles start looking into the Watcher diaries for information about past Slayers' deaths. But Giles tells her that there won't be much information because the Watchers also usually died or found it too painful to recount the incidents. Buffy then remembers they have another witness to the Slayer's final battles, Spike!
Oh man, Spike's involvement in the episode.
Yes. Buffy drags Spike from his crypt, taking him to the Bronze, and pays him to tell her about the battles with the two Slayers he killed. He starts out by describing how he was turned in 1880 London, revealing to the audience, if not entirely to Buffy, that he was a meek poet named William, ridiculed by his peers and rejected by the love of his life, Cecilia. How do you fucking pronounce it? Cecily.
Cecil, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to fucking pronounce that name. Who declared him beneath her. Before Drusilla sired him and took him with her on her to travel Europe and with their sire Angelus, angel before he had a soul, and his sire Darla. Spike further describes how mere months later he became far more assertive, already using his new name Spike, speaking in a much more forceful working class accent and preying upon innocence, not for sustenance but for fun. Causing too much attention to the group as far as Angelus was concerned. Angelus preferred meticulous artistic kills, and Spike's love of brawls and riots required them to flee London. Spike mocked Angelus's attitude, and the older vampire lost control, almost staking him. But Spike only laughed at having provoked Angelus to such an extent. Infuriated, Angelus remarked that one day a very angry crowd would teach Spike the folly of his excesses, adding that or the Slayer, a comment which instantly intrigued Spike. In the present, Spike reveals that upon learning of the Slayer, he became obsessed with her.
What is a Slayer?
Unlike other vampires who feared the Slayer, Spike actively sought her out, craving the challenge she would provide. Meanwhile, Riley, Xander, Willow, and Anya take over Buffy's patrol. Riley is much more methodical, but the rest of the Scoobies are rather lax about the process.
Yeah,
what the fuck does this mean?
And they just eat chips in the background.
I love
Willow is great too. Just grabbing like a whole handful of chips. Not just a handful, like the whole bag pretty much in her hand.
Just like, these two handfuls, and you're like, yeah, be quiet, Xander.
She had a case of the munchies that evening.
Oh, it's so good. I love how Riley's trying to be all stealthy and they're munching on chips. It's so good. They do discover a nest of vampires, including the one that injured Buffy. They make plans to destroy it the next day when the vampires won't be active. Back at the Bronze, Spike tells of the killing of the Chinese Slayer during the Boxer Rebellion in 1900. Defeating her after a long and brutal fight, describing her as all business, and getting nostalgic about how Drusilla was excited afterward, calling the event the best night of my life, much to Buffy's disgust. Spike also points out that while the Slayer can kill thousands of demons and vampires, all it takes to kill her is one of them to have a lucky day. Riley, rather than waiting for daylight, goes back to the vampire lair at night and stakes the vampire who wounded Buffy and then firebombs the crypt, killing the others. Spike's reminiscing continues as he discusses his second Slayer kill, Nikki Wood, whom he describes as much more improvisational like Buffy, whom he killed on a New York City subway in 1977. After he finishes, he reveals that he won by exploiting the Slayer's curiosity about and wish for death. Further claiming that every Slayer has a death wish, including Buffy herself, Buffy rejects his conclusion and becomes angry and disgusted when Spike comes onto her, trying to kiss her and challenging her to prove him wrong. Knocking him to the ground, Buffy, echoing William's love, contemptuously informs Spike that he is beneath her before walking away. Spike's feeling of sadness and humiliation, which cause him to briefly succumb to tears and quickly overtaken by anger and frustration. He arms himself with a double-barrel shotgun in his crypt, determined to kill Buffy for this insult. When she gets home, her mother reveals that she needs to go to the hospital for some more tests, and that her condition may be more serious than she originally let on. Unable to bear this information, Buffy retreats to the back porch in tears. At that moment, Spike approaches with his shotgun, but Buffy's distraught state changes his mind and he attempts to comfort her instead. He takes a seat next to her and gently pats her on the back, an action that Buffy does not rebuff, although her shock is clear. So that is what happened in Fool for Love. So what did you all think of this episode?
There were many emotions. Also, the story of Spike.
Great exposition of Spike. His backstory of just becoming a Slayer. How he was like this.
You mean of becoming a vampire?
Nah, yeah, that's what I meant. Not a Slayer. God damn it.
He can't be a Slayer.
No, he can't be a Slayer. I meant vampire. God damn it. But no, like, he was this loser poet named William.
And he's known as William the Bloody because his poems are just
bloody awful.
They're bloody awful.
It's so good. Yeah, we get a lot more information about Spike in this.
Yeah.
The episode that aired right after it, there was an episode of Angel that was basically the same, well, not basically the same episode, but it's very similar, but it was told from Angel's perspective.
Okay, the actions and events that Angel sort of went on, getting to have Spike come into the group and see what sort of actions he brought along.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these scenes that are very similar, but they're shot and like written from a different perspective, and it's really cool.
Neat.
So let's quickly go over some international titles.
Oh.
So in French, it's The Flaw, which...
That works, but...
in German, A Lesson for Life. And in Brazilian Portuguese, Crazy in Love.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll go with that title.
Yeah, it kind of matches a little bit with one of the last flashbacks we see with Spike's meet up with Drusilla after all the incidences happening with their breakup.
So, one of my favorite things is we get the scene where Spike kills Nikki Wood. And he's in, like, his 70s punk, like, New York, which is a great look. It's 10 on 10. But, like, he starts talking, and, like, Spike from that period is saying the same things that Spike in modern day is, and it cuts back and forth. Just a really cool effect. I really like it.
It's also the case that he picked up his leather jacket from her.
Yes, we find out where Spike got his duster.
From his, from the previous Slayer he, killed.
I question if he got anything from the first one, but I think it was the case of when the Slayer was dying, it's like, tell my mother, I am sorry. It's like, dude, I don't even speak your language.
Sorry, I don't speak Chinese.
Yep.
Yeah, so we will eventually be getting more information about Nikki Wood. We will see more about her, because her family will prove important later on in the series.
Interesting.
Yes. So, is there anything about this episode that you guys wanted to talk about, or any questions you have for me about where we might be headed?
Probably not this episode in particular, even though it did show a lot of, like, the past.
Okay. Okay. So, the whole idea of every Slayer having a death wish, that will come up again.
Oh man, that thought of the thing.
So, keep that in mind.
Okie dokie.
Yes.
Oh, Buffy's died once already.
Yep, once.
Yep.
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 Yeah.
Technically twice, but that heads into the whole multiple universe thing, and it's just all crazy nuts, so don't need to bother.
Twice when? Oh, you mean the other universe?
Yeah,
Right.
the other universe.
Yeah, that doesn't count though. She's only died once in reality.
Yeah.
In the current universe that we're observing,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
we're not gonna get another Slayer unless she dies again in this universe.
Well, I think it's still a case
But-
that there's
but-
still two.
But what about Faith? What if Faith dies?
Well, then another Slayer's called.
I guess we'll have to find out. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this week. If neither of you have anything left to add.
Oh man, that Drusilla. So interesting to see her back.
Yes. Drusilla is very good. And with that, that'll end it for this week. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.
And Justin.
Alrighty, so next week we will be talking about the episode. Let me find it here. God damn it. The episode Shadow. Because Shadow is always a title for a good episode, right?
I understand what shadow means, and it makes me mildly sad because of the things of the episode.
So, in this episode, Joyce will have been diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Yeah.
A shadow.
Buffy is worried about her mother's diagnosis and Dawn's ability to handle the bad news. Glory visits Giles' new magic shop and purchases 2 items that are essential to summoning an evil snake. So we're going to get some, 2,000 euro TV CGI.
Oh man, the snake guy.
And Riley feels left out of Buffy's world and permits a vampire named Sandy to bite him.
Oh man, call back to the person he met up in
sure
past episode.
this is not gonna have any negative consequences to anyone.
Nope, of course not.
It's all going to turn out all peachy keen and everything's going to turn out amazingly.
Nothing bad could happen. What bad could happen? No, seriously. What?
Can't wait to see his vamp face.
I don't think it was so much of a case. I think she just allowed him to bite her and then...
No,
He's not a vampire?
no, he didn't get turned.
Aw, that makes me sad.
No, because in order to be turned in the Buffy lore, they have to feed on you and you have to feed on them.
Well,
It's a whole sucking thing.
that sucks.
I think it sucks more for the vampire since she kind of got staked in the end.
Yeah,
I was
'cause-
kind of hoping he would turn.
If you notice, whenever somebody gets sired, they also have to drink
he
from
craves-
the vampire.
Because I think Riley craves power.
That's
Well,
possible.
he did lose his, so...
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yes, because he was, Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and the other particular thing that supposedly he now thinks, thanks to Spike from the episode.
Well, we'll talk about that next week. Alrighty.